believe your mic is muted. Okay.
Hang on, it's working now. Oops, that's
There we go.
oh dear. That's unfortunate. Okay, well, I guess I can get rid of this thing in front of me.
So you're gonna have to listen to the podcast version of this to find out the show news and all the details for what we're doing tomorrow night.
Yeah.
By then,
Okay.
the podcast
Wow,
will be out.
that's unfortunate because I've just spent I don't know how many minutes talking about people. Okay, that's well.
Well, we
yeah,
got the answer
shit.
anyway, so that's.
Welcome to
Hey,
live
guys.
radio, people.
We're gonna play a game this week where we're gonna throw answers at you, and you guys have to guess the questions.
Yeah, that's it. It's Jeopardy. All right, so
What is the stupid concept?
let's quickly go over the things that I've just said in the last 5 minutes. We've got Shots, we've got Voku, and I'll say the thing about Ralph again at the end because I don't want to miss out talking to him.
We'll
talking
put him
about
in
that.
we'll put him in the shout out section. It's fine.
Okay, so our tradition is favorite lane, favorite champ, and Voku's was mid lane, and Akali. Shots, your favorite champ and your favorite lane.
My favorite champion is Sejuani mid, and my favorite lane is mid.
Nice. Been playing much Sejuani mid recently? Because she seemed to have a bit of a renaissance for a while.
On Reddit, there was that Sejuani mid montage. After that, I was just a fan.
Yep.
Started
Nice.
playing it, started cheesing people. You know how it is.
Cool, excellent. All right, well let's move on to some of the stuff that's been happening around the oceanic scene. First off, we will make mention that a team we've had, with the end of the season, we're having a lot of roster changes and things that are happening. And unfortunately, YSSC, the Your Soul Shall Chuffer, which has been around since I think late last year, they are no more. So we've had, one of the players, Flying Jew, and their manager Asgard have both mentioned on Twitter that the team has disbanded. So that's unfortunate. But I guess that's the kind of the way it goes. Presumably, all the players. I mean, they were for a while there, they were looking one of the hottest teams in the oceanic scene. So presumably, all those guys will turn up elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's a throwback to Oldham when I sort of started really a lot following the competitive scene. Before that, I wasn't really a huge kind of fan. I was more focused on EU, and even though the YSSC, I think, and Dolph's Bonbon were probably my favorite two teams right then because they were like the outsider underdogs, and it's a real shame because there's a bunch of people around those two teams or more specifically your Social Chuffer because they've lasted a lot longer, obviously. But it's a real shame. Like we saw Chuffer, who's now moved on to Direwolves and is doing so well with those guys. It's just been fantastic. Who else? There was the jungler, Gur. Where's he gone? He's gone on and done the great things. They've just been really, really nice teams to bring players up through and have really helped the growth of the scene.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's move on to some other stuff. We'll get into the PAX discussion in a sec, but just thought we'd give some first impressions. They've revealed the next champion to be released, Callista, the Spear of Vengeance. So she's an AD carry from the the Shadow Isles. She looks pretty darn interesting. There's an item that comes with her, some very interesting mechanics. What do you guys reckon from what you've seen so far of her?
I'll go first, I guess.
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Basically just reading the PB updates. She looks like she's going to be one of the kiting champions, which would probably fit into Radia's playstyle a lot, and mine. It's going to require that you have perfect synergy with your support because this champion will not be used in solo queue that much unless you are duo queued, mainly because of the whole binding beer ability with the Black Spear. So you have that. She has a lunge ability when she's kiting. She also has a 25 increased gap when she lunges backwards, which can be used to do some nice plays over walls to escape ganks, stuff like that. Her W seems interesting. It reminds me a bit of the Dota 2 ward system where you could place them and they kind of moved, they had the moving effect, but this time it's like the spooky ghosts where they follow and they give vision, which I think is actually really cool, and it might bring a different aspect towards the game in bot lane.
Yeah, and the damage that comes off the passive, the soul marked passive, where if you attack and if your support or whoever's bound with you attacks the same champion you've just attacked within about 1.5 seconds, it does like 12% max health damage, which is quite a bit considering I think it procs every 8 seconds. So that's a heck of a lot of damage to be coming out of an AD carry. In terms of because there's not many. I mean, I think Varus is probably the only other AD carry that actually has max health damage. So yeah, it's going to help a lot, especially with the kiting and the dealing with tanks and things like that.
Yeah.
Well, something that really took me by surprise, and I had to kind of do a double take just to make sure that it wasn't my screen resolution or anything. But Kalista doesn't seem to have a mana bar, so it looks like it's a completely cooldown based champion with cooldown resets.
She
Is
does.
that
That's a
wrong?
lie. From what
Oh,
I
she
was
has a
seeing of the videos of her, she has a mana bar, but her costs are extremely low.
Yeah, like I'm
From what
watching
I
a
was
video
seeing.
now and I don't see a mana bar at all. So they might have disabled them for the videos or whatever. But okay, so well, even if there is a mana bar, like the rend ability, that's the E. So basic attacks and spears from the pierce lodge in the target for a short time, and then you can pop the E to do extra damage and slow whoever's got the spears stuck in them. If it kills a minion, or kills anyone really, but if it kills a minion, it resets the skill. Now, this is going to be incredibly useful for pushing up the wave like incredibly fast. So you could, you go attack, rend, attack, rend. You could push that really fast. And because her kit is designed around kiting, as you were saying before, you can force the bot lane push whenever you want to start a fight for dragon. You can push that up and then just start walking up the lane. And if they try and follow you, you just start kiting them like crazy. That's it. That seems to be like a really powerful idea behind it. I won't know until I've actually seen someone play her or actually got onto the PBE and played her myself. But that as an idea, I think, is incredibly powerful.
Yeah, so, one of the things that also really grabbed me was the Martial Poise, her passive. It says rather than cancelling the basic attack animation, a move order hops Callista in the direction of the click after she completes her attack, which is something Voku's already picked up on. Now, for me, it's essentially rewarding orb walking, which is the move, attack moving, which is quite a high level skill. Which I mean I don't know it because I don't play AD carry and I haven't really tried to, but it's probably something that only maybe platinum level players and above really know how to do, which is I think it's probably the first time that Riot have really put in a mechanic that's this advanced, like sort of something that only advanced players are going to be able to take advantage of. So, which I think that's cool and interesting. And I mean, I guess now that they've got 100 and something champions, they can actually start doing this kind of stuff where they've got champions in there that really only can be utilized to their full potential by really high level players because that's the sort of level of skill they have.
Yeah, well, that and the ultimate. Now, Martial Poise, I'm not sure, like, because I've only seen like a very short video. It only came out a few minutes ago. Well, that's when I found about it anyway. But it might be punishing it might be a very noob unfriendly champion. Like if they don't really understand what they're doing, they can accidentally leap forward while they're trying to click on an enemy champion. If their mouse clicks aren't quite on point. So that might actually get a lot of orb walking inexperienced players killed.
Yeah.
And just another noob unfriend, like her ultimate. Like once you've like the soul binding mechanic for the listeners who haven't had a chance to check it out yet. From what I've read, Callista gets an item in her inventory and she can use it to offer a soul binding to an ally. If that person accepts it, then there's a whole bunch of stuff. But in relation to the ultimate, if you pop your ultimate, the person you're soul bound with stops being able to use abilities and then sort of moves towards Callista. And
she essentially sucks them into herself. Like they kind of disappear. They're sort of absorbed into her, and then she just kind of throws them out, and it knocks. It basically does a whole bunch of a bunch of knockups.
So if you're playing Leona and someone soul binds with you, you're like, oh, okay, what's this? All of a sudden you're getting sucked in and then thrown forward with the only ability that you can cast, going, oh, what's this ability do? Oh my god, why am I in the enemy team?
Yep.
I think
Incredible synergy with an Alistar. incredible.
Yes.
synergy with that
absolutely,
stuff.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Nada just got a buff with this champion.
and
Yeah.
Ejim. And Ejim.
It was actually, you know who I actually thought of at first? Like, I was trying to think of non-supports that it'd work well with, and I think Diana would be able to do some really hack stuff with that ability. Not not just for getting in, but also for getting out. Like, because you can go in, you can do your AoE thing, and then you can kind of get pulled back into Callista, and then go back in once your cooldowns are up.
Yeah.
So, it'd be very interesting to see what kind of combos can come out. Whether or not the soul binding gives enough of a domination in lane that it's worth saving it for the jungler or whatever, but you know, that'll be up to the pros and their millions and countless hours in solo queue to figure out. But yeah, no, it's just very, very interesting kit, and definitely not for those who are not feeling that their skill level is up there, because this is going to be a hard champion.
So
Cool.
pretty much anyone with like a strong engage, she's gonna be strong with. Anyone with a strong engage, just be ridiculous.
And even like for say for people just playing with their mates, I mean, it's kind of helpful for someone like a Soraka who doesn't really have an engage of any. I mean, not that you really want to throw Soraka that close to the enemy, but I think
Soraka.
I think it actually gives like once you knock them back, there's actually a substantial amount of difference, like it's distance between you and the enemy. So it's not like I don't think it lands you right in the middle of them. I think there's still a bit of a gap. So maybe with someone like an Alistar, it may not work quite that well. But someone like a Soraka who doesn't. But, you know, this is just in terms of solo queue, or not solo queue, but just playing with your mates in normals or whatever, or even duo queuing. You know, she really lacks an engage. It kind of gives her something that she otherwise wouldn't have, which, you know, it's interesting. Worth keeping in mind.
Something very important about this is it's like a knockback type effect, which everybody will automatically be thinking Yasuo combo.
Yeah.
Right? This is an AD carry with a huge area of effectability, sort of. Like, you know, if you hit like the right area, you could like the AD carry being able to provide a huge knock-up opportunity for Yasuo and whoever they're soulbound with, you know, be it Alistar or whatever. Like, that's really, really strong team fighting or pick potential right there, just by picking this champion.
Yep.
Important points on that note to point out. One, AD carry casts the Callista herself initiates the ability, so she sucks them in. Two, then the person who is soul bound has total control of when it's popped. So it's not,
how long does it last?
Callista.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's something that they're playing around with, but it's not Callista from that point on that has control. She can only suck them in, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So-
all of the other abilities of the allied champion are disabled, and that is the new and only ability that they have.
Okay.
It's kind of like Sion with his passive now. So
In what way?
Oh
Because
yeah,
his
all his
passive when
abilities
he
are
dies
replaced.
and respawns, yeah, all his abilities are replaced with the same one, which gives him speed and damage output increase.
Oh, right. Okay, now I understand what you mean. Yeah.
Cool. Well, if is there anything else anybody wants to bring up before we move on?
Well, we haven't really got numbers. We haven't got any gameplay footage,
Yep.
so we should probably return to Callista in a future week.
Yes, we definitely will be.
It's definitely. I think we got a good initial start.
Now, before we move on to a
Right,
discussion
so-
about packs, I just thought we'd mention that some of our listeners, particularly Modbro, he's starting he's actually got a Movember campaign going on. So far, they've managed to raise over $1,000, and I think they're going to be doing some charity streams as well. So, there's a few of our listeners. So make sure we'll put the link in the Twitch chat. And maybe we'll put it in the show notes as well. You know, make sure if you're interested in contributing towards that, help those guys out. They're actually, I think, ranked 360th in all of Australia, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, 360 at the moment. I'm going to be in on a part of this. There's 8 of us so far, which is really, really cool. Minky Well is going to be jumping on board, helping us out with a bunch of stuff. The Team Down TV crew, which is fantastic. We've got so much support. We're looking at doing some streaming and stuff. We're trying to get some games together or something. Maybe have Minky, Victor, good old Vic, myself,
Maybe we can
and
have
Minky.
his trademarked Tarek top lane versus Minky's Heimerdinger top lane. That's
Yeah, we're looking, you know, there theoretically could be the trademark Tarek versus the Minky Heimerdinger. That theoretically is something that we could do for fun to see what happens. But yeah, it's a fantastic initiative, and it's all in the name of men's health.
all right. So let's But then let's turn to PAX, the big event on the weekend where we had the actual Oceanic final. Um, we had 4 teams playing: Direwolves, Avantgarde, Legacy, and Chiefs. With the spoiler alert, we're gonna spoiler all of this. So if you haven't watched it,
Do
you
we
should have.
really need to do this every week?
Oh well,
Like,
you know, just in case. It's in the
They're gonna
clients.
tell you the
Actually, it's in the
result of
client.
this week's games.
Can
all been
we just
acquired.
have it like added to the intro?
Yeah.
Warning: OzLoL podcast may contain spoilers.
So the winner being Avantgarde, winning in a full 5-game final against Legacy. It was, I gotta say, this is probably one of the best weekends of games I've ever seen. Like, to be honest, this is actually, I mean, I know Worlds is like, the guys are much better than us. Like, yeah, Samsung White is in a whole different universe compared to Oceanic teams. But I think I actually had more fun watching the finals this weekend than I had watching the Worlds. It was phenomenal games, and fortunately, everybody but me on this show was there. So let's talk about the game. So Steve? How about you go first? What are you talking
I
about?
was very keen. Like, first thing that needs to be noted about the games is that we had all of the series go to the maximum amount of games. The maximum amount. So both of the semifinals went to in a best of 3 went to 3 games, and the final was a best of 5, went all the way to down to game 5, and the finish to to every single series, all of them, especially the final, was crazy. Everyone was excited. Everyone was screaming. Not believe. Oh, like EGM had the crowd just going absolutely nuts. It was the loudest I'd ever heard a crowd. And I've been to concerts, like, you know, this was really loud. The support was just crazy good. Like the fans at the event were just amazing. The games themselves were absolutely just sensational. The finals, everyone was just like so pumped. It was really quite an experience. I was so glad that I got to go. And shame that you didn't, Carrot. How did you guys feel about PAX and the actual Riot stuff?
Marco, go first.
Yeah. let's just say, before Marco actually says anything, so Marco Shots, obviously, he could not show any emotion at the end of the 5th game. He was just so in disbelief. It was actually really, really cool to be around all the players and experiencing everything from Fastfee, from Shots, from Nada, Veritas, you know, Kensti, Yuzora, and Porky. It was just an utterly incredible experience to be there and to be a part of that. So, Marco, what was it like seeing as you could not show your emotions after the games?
Alright, so at Perth, you guys may know, I got a bit emotional after Legacy had won their Winter Regionals, and I got very emotional. Oceanic Regional Finals, completely the opposite. I could not show any emotion. Like, I was just shocked. Because, like, we went from nearly losing the game, we capitalized on one mistake, 2 team fights, we won the game. We won Oceanic Regionals off to 1 mistake.
Yep.
So, I literally, like, just looked for about 5 minutes, and I just could not show any emotion.
It took a while to process all
that.
that.
It took a while to process, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we were watching, like immediately, bam! There's the ace, a tower, another tower, an inhibitor, another tower, another tower. Everyone's so, oh my god, are they gonna do it?
Yeah.
You know, everyone's resurrecting. People are diving in. People are all walking and dodging, and get the hits on the Nexus, and then the crowd just goes nuts.
Yeah.
Like they went huge. Oh, it was so much energy in that room.
So for the benefit of those who maybe weren't there, so game 5. It was very, very close game all the way through. So I think it was Legacy won the first 2, then AV won the next 2. Is that correct?
No. AV opened up. It was exactly the same 5 games, except for the last game for Legacy from Winter Regionals. So Legacy lost first game, AV won first game, then Legacy win 2 straight. Then no.
No.
Okay.
So,
Legacy won the first one. I know Legacy won the first one.
Legacy won the first one. We won the next 2. Then Legacy won the 4th game, and then Avantgarde won the 5th game.
Yep. And I think AV got the. I'm trying to remember. There was so much going on that weekend. I'm pretty sure AV had the lead early, but then Legacy came to sort of dominate the whole game. Basically up until the last 10 minutes, not even that, it's like the last 5 minutes. Essentially, they overextended in bottom lane, got caught out. AV then just basically rushed up the bottom lane, just took everything they could. They take out the inhibitor, they're all pretty low. And I remember that it was Pastry because it's Pastry and Freak who were casting. It was like, okay, at this point you sort of think they're going to back off, but no, they just decide to go for it. And well, across Twitter, because I was paying a lot of attention to Twitter, everybody was just in utter disbelief that they were going to win after literally acing them 5 minutes ago. Not even that. So it was just such a thrilling end.
Yeah. Well, it was the exact same end as Legacy versus Chiefs in the semifinals. Watch the end of Game 3. It's Inhibitor next. Or was it no? Tower Inhibitor Tower Nexus. Just
Yeah.
crazy sweep. Oh, you should have seen Legacy after the win against Chiefs. There was chairs being thrown, running around like it was just crazy energy coming out of Legacy. Chiefs looked devastated, as you would you'd expect, but it was being there live. If listeners out there, if you've got the opportunity to go to a live event, go there. It is just crazy amazing. It's so much fun.
Oh, it's just there is no better way to bring the whole scene to an end. I think it was just literally, whatever we could have hoped for at the start of the season. This went out, matched it, and then that was about a Game 3, and then it just kept going.
Yeah, absolutely. There was upsets all the way through. The skill level of teams is so close. I said it, directly after the Winter Regionals, that now is going to be the time to watch Oceanic Esports, and wow, was I right. Every single game was amazing. Like, if you go back, was it games 4 and 5 in the finals? You could see both teams were kind of like, okay, we're still playing, like they were trying to lane for a little bit longer to try and get their have a little bit of a rest, but it was just intense. You've got to go out and watch the games. I mean, we went all games. We had Freak shoutcasting the finals and some of the semifinals. That was a treat. I got to say, having Freak fly over and lay some of his puns down, and he brings a certain reputation with him. So for him to cast the Oceanic Games, it really made us feel important as a region. Well, that's how I feel anyway.
Now, Voka, you were going to say something before, and somebody else jumped in. So,
there's one thing I do want to point out, that teams like AV and Direwolves, they were just recently formed. So it's going to be interesting for the next season, because you have these teams that are just forming, and then they're proving that they can be up there with the best. So, just being there for all 3 days, the games are amazing. As someone said before, every game got brought to the final series, and they were just nail-biting. It's just going to be, what's going to happen next? Will these teams just keep progressing further and further? What can they show us to do in this game, and how will they do it? Some of the plays, like the Fizz jungle, it was just you wouldn't just think of that to work. So it's quite interesting.
It's definitely not something that people would be practicing against regularly in solo queue or scrims.
No.
Yep.
I mean, for example, with AV, I just sort of mention out, for those who aren't aware, I mean, this has been a really big year in a sense for AV. At the start of the year, they moved into the gaming house, but then didn't get the results during the year. The team more or less broke up as it was. Almost, I mean, is it completely the U squad? Was there anybody left over from the start of the year? I mean, I don't think so. So essentially, entirely new squad, more or less formed in the last 3 months. Yeah, and then to turn around and win the actual regional final was just an astounding turnaround. To beat teams that are well and truly very experienced. I mean, Chiefs, for example. I mean, the Legacy beat Chiefs, knocked out Chiefs, but Chiefs have been around forever. Legacy's been around for quite a long while in their current form. Having been through being AV in fact for a period of time. To beat those sort of quality teams is just really, really impressive. I think in some ways that's even more impressive than almost anything else. Just the fact that that they've turned it around.
I want to give a shout out to Legacy, who just played brilliantly. I think I said a few weeks ago. Can't actually remember when I said it, but it was like that they've been plagued with inconsistency over time. Sometimes they play beyond amazing, and sometimes they play good. But they showed up when they needed to. They put on a fantastic show. AV's brilliant shot calling and commitment to that final push may have been the only reason that Legacy didn't take it. Like, it was so close, so close.
2 seconds.
Every single
If the difference was 2 seconds, they would not have won
exactly.
that game.
Yeah, and there's no way that Avant went, like they didn't have like a Sherlock, Mind Palace genius moment where they just went, okay, it's going to be 46 seconds on that, like they didn't do all the calculations and go, all right, well, if we push
There's
now,
no
we
way.
win.
There's
It,
no
like,
way
it's
you could have done that
impossible.
in that
It's
situation.
impossible to quantify that. It was really like a Hail Mary with a very, very strong arm. It was really just, they risked it because if they'd got an ace, then it was game. It was a
If
gamble.
two of them had died,
Mhm.
on that push, that was game in the opposite corner.
And that very easily could have happened. And almost the exact same scenario with Legacy and Chiefs game 3 as well. That was so exciting, absolutely so exciting.
All right, well, let's talk about sort of a bit broadly about the whole finals, because I guess this is the end of the year. From here, I mean, I guess it won't be till sort of February that we'll probably start having more events. I guess it'll be ACL and CGPL will start to kick up again around February, March-ish. Let's talk about the top players from these series. So Chiefs, and let's go. Well, might as well go from the list that's on the screen in front of me. Chiefs. Who are some of the big players, and maybe where did it? I mean, it's hard to say where it went wrong because every team played really well.
Yeah.
But who are the standout players from Chiefs in everybody's opinion? How about we'll go with Shots? You go first.
I think you definitely have to say Swiffer. Like, when Swiffer turns on, like when he's playing at his top, like he can carry he can beat any team by himself. I think also Rosie and Swiffer are definitely like my two picks. Like, when they turn up, they turn up.
Absolutely. Anybody else, want to make comment about?
I would have to say Radior. His kiting in the game 3 versus Legacy was absolutely perfect. Like, the way he was just kiting away from Riven and just everyone chasing him down. It takes a lot of practice and a lot of mechanics just to be able to do what he did.
For me, for Chiefs, the standard is no matter whether they're having a good game, no matter whether they're having a bad game, you can always depend on that top lane rock and Swiper. Swiper is always playing to the same level every single game. If you want something done, Swiper does it. I've always been a big fan and a big advocate of Swiper. Big fan and a big advocate of Swiper.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there was a couple of times Spooks probably. There was a couple of times he sort of went, okay, why did you do that? So I think he was probably. Not that he's a weak link, because he's still incredibly good, but I think probably there was a couple of times where I sort of questioned what he was doing. But I think, for me, Swiffer was a standout player. He just hard carries, like he just picks up the whole teams and brings them along in the same way as some of the other mid laners as well. Like, it's not like he alone is a standout mid laner. I think he's got some. There's some other top mid laners, but yeah, absolutely. I think Swiffer is kind of one of the guys who's doing it. Steve, what about Legacy for you? Or did you want to make a comment about the Chiefs?
Well, I just want to say, like, the teams themselves, rather than the individual players, is really what impressed me, because we've had really good individual players in the Oceanic region for quite a while. But we've not really have the kind of team cooperation, the preparation, the dedication, and all that sort of stuff. We've not had that in all but 2 or 3 teams at any one time. So to have it all the way through the round of 8, all the way up to the round of 4, to the finals, the actual teamwork that everyone put together, like normally Chiefs would be able to out teamwork anybody, but that wasn't the case. Like, there was just some brilliant shot calling, complete dedication. Like, no one's like recalling when they shouldn't, and there's no like missed opportunities to trade dragon. Well, there might have been a couple, but they might have been risky at the time, or they might have been keeping track of might not have been able to keep track of a teleport timer or whatever. So like, there was so many definitive calls made from all teams, and it was just really it was just the team dynamics was what really impressed me the most.
Yep. Gonna 100% agree. Nada, there was an interview played during or slightly before the final series between AV and Legacy, and Nada summed it up perfectly. In this region and the way it's developed, you play as a team or you play you play alone. There's no point turning up and showing up and trying to play as a team if you aren't going to play together as a team. And Nada said it, the best team will win. So
Yeah. And I think, based on that last second push, clearly they did. It was
Well, I mean, having said all that, I mean, there's definitely some players who are definitely more critical in the success of their teams than others. Like, I mean, if you look at well, Nada and Veritas, like, I mean, really, out of probably any of the players in this entire, particularly the round of 4, but even the round of 8, like, I think those guys did more work than almost anybody else. Like, they, not to say that, you know, McKinstey's excellent and the other guys, Porky's excellent, and
to give Kenstey credit, he had 100% ban rate on Twisted Fate in the finals.
Yep.
Every single game. Like, if you're, sorry, my voice is a bit gone because of all the screaming I did at PAX. But like, if you're able to get such respect from your opponents that they're going to ban not even your main champion, but one of your main champions every single game because the team just cannot deal with it. That's a massive tip of the hat to Kenstey right there. And even when he was like that, one game he was completely banned, like every single ban was targeted at him, and he picked up Jace and just went to town. Like, so Kenstey really stood out for me. And EGM, he
just amazing.
Some of the things that he did in that game had like standing ovations from the crowd, including myself. Whoa, you know, just just audible, just shock at some of the amazing stuff that came out of him.
Alistair's the pick of the series for both supports.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I think like of that final series, it was both of the supports that really made the games what they were.
Mhm.
Absolutely, I agree. Yeah. No, I think EGM is like he is a standout player for Legacy, along probably with I think Choo Choo's as well. I mean, well, actually, I should say Cardred. There was I think it was him on Tristana. There was this one fight where he is one of the most freaky outplays you've ever seen. Like he made practically everybody in the team dived him, and he managed to live. It was I'm pretty sure it was Cardred. I don't think it was Veritas, but it was just like he had no health. He had no health, and everybody was diving him. He should have died. Just amazing. But yeah, I think Choo Choo's as well. If you look at his Z play, particularly game 1, it's just insane. Yeah, there's it's just some really great plays. But yeah, EGM and Nada, I think, just really important linchpins in the teams, and they're just their skill and I mean, EGM with his hooks. I mean, oh my gosh, with his hooks, whole weekend it was just even Freak couldn't believe like how good he was. Especially even Chiefs and Legacy. Like I think there was quite a bit of his thresh play in there, and it's just mind blowing.
And just a little comment I want to add about every single game and every single team is that every time there was a good team composition on both sides. Like some might have had laning advantages, some might have had late game advantages, but they always had synergy. They always worked together. Like it was never like, oh, we've picked Rumble early, so we have to team fight. But then I pick a split pusher, you know, like, oh my god, we've ruined the top. That I didn't think that once. And I've thought that about some previous teams and team compositions in the past, including my own team. So, no, I just want to like everyone was really amazing in everything. Their picks, their bans, their positioning, their calls, their responding to calls. They're just fantastic. The best league that we've seen in the region has come all the way in this top 8.
I just want to state, like, with the whole picking like Rumble and stuff like that, it takes a lot of like, it's on the subject of what Nada said, I think, where playing as a team wins.
Yeah.
And it really impressed me with Legacy. Just, Cardred's not that strong of an ADC early on, but if you get into late game, he does what he needs to do. He becomes that beast where he'll just 1v5. And Legacy have always been one of those teams that have just worked so well together because they've just been friends when they first made it. Like, we're all on TeamSpeak. They all just laugh and have fun. They go in there with the frame of mind that we're going to play what we want to play and we're going to go for the win. Like, it's them just having fun up on the stage, doing what they're doing best.
Yeah. It was a very Cloud9 attitude, that.
Yeah, and it's good to see that. Like, not many not many players adapt that mentality. It's more like, oh, we have to win this. If we don't win this, I'm leaving, or this team is shit, I'm leaving. Like, not many players in the OCE scene have a mind frame like that.
Yeah, and the ones that have left pretty much. They're bordering on extinction if they're not already there. I just want to give a shout out to Legacy specifically for their over the back of the Baron wall purple side strat, where they had like Tristana or Caitlyn and they'd auto attack the Baron and they'd use like the secret jump over the wall strat, where they'd sneak a Baron and get around all the ward coverage. Like I was clapping when I saw them executing that. Like it's just brilliant. You could tell that they'd practiced it before. I just wanted to note that was something that really stood out for me.
All right, well, something that Cyanide actually brought up in the Twitch chat, which I thought would be a good thing to talk about, is where to from here. So it's the end of the year. Last year, I think I know on the show when we talked about this, we were pretty happy with things going. I think we've definitely stepped up in 2014, or Riot have. What does everybody reckon is the future, for the Oceanic scene in 2015? What could people do? I mean, Cyanide in particular, he brought up teams playing overseas, which we still haven't really seen a whole lot of yet, apart from Legacy going to wildcards. We saw Chiefs go to WCG as well as wildcards last year. Anybody have any thoughts on how things can be improved, or where there's an opportunity maybe for teams to sort of push themselves?
Well, I'm just going to quickly add my thoughts, and then you guys can go to town on that question. I think Riot OCE, like the Oceanic Riot office, they promised that they would bring us quality esports and that it was going to be a thing. They weren't going away. That was like their promise from day one, and they've really delivered. And I have complete faith that whatever Riot have planned for the next season is going to absolutely top everything that we've seen so far. That was my thoughts. Now you guys can go.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm really interested here to actually hear Voku and Shots' perspectives on this one from a manager's perspective. So,
Who wants to go first?
Get to work. Get to work, boys.
You can go first, Marco, man.
Fight. Damn it, didn't
It's
work.
hot potato. When the music
Shots,
stops.
you go first.
Alright, so I definitely think with what Riot's done this year, like with the 3 events, autumn, winter, and finals, definitely like a great start. Like we went into the future, and this is a good start. Next year, I hope for more often events. So like maybe not like an LCS, but just more like often, like more events more often, because that's what people want to do. Like they want to go to LANs, they want to compete at LAN. That's the most entertaining for viewers and everyone else.
Yeah.
What else is there? I think if teams really want to get into the scene, they just have to like start playing and be more consistent. Like stick together. That's the main thing, and just keep playing. Don't give up. Okay.
You're up.
Basically what Marco said, I kind of want to see more come out for the players, where hopefully they can start making a bit of more money off of it, like enough to survive, because we're not like North America. Australia is a lot harder to get time off, take these days off to go to the events, especially since Riot's flying you up 2 days early. Like they fly you up on the Thursday morning. So hopefully that can come into play, where Riot will start helping out the pro players, like the top 4 teams, enough where they can just play solo queue all day and not have to worry about all that. But then again, there's always going to be the factor of uni, family, like parents. So those are subjects that need to be worked on.
That's right. Riot, if you can get rid of family and parents.
It's not really the family and parents, it's making them understand. It's like, if you wanted to play this game competitively, you just turn 17 and you go to your dad or mom and be like, Mom, Dad, I want to play video games professionally. They'll look at you and be like, no, you can't do that. You can't make any money out of it. It's a waste of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Carrot said that back when we first started the podcast, is that's how this industry is going to grow, is with more money in the
More
industry, so
incentives.
to speak. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's not just that, because like if you look at Korea, North America, Europe, and all these other regions that are considered like the top of the top, China, um, they've all got people who can like time is what is required to get good at this. Time, practice, dedication, like a lot of dedication. You need time with your team to get good. Like the fact that we've had such amazing quality games and just quality of play really does speak a lot to the volunteers that are in the esports, the oceanic esports stuff. Like all of us in the chat, for example, like we're all in there helping the guys out. We're doing what we can to make the scene better, and it's growing as a direct result. But once there's actually like the prize money gets to the point where we can afford to take more time out of our weekends, you're gonna, like we have to dedicate even more time to it. If you can get people that do not have employment to train professionally, they'll have an edge over those who don't. Apart from natural born gifts and such. But someone with natural born gifts who is able to financially support themselves without a job through League will do much better than someone with the exact same skills who does have a job and can't dedicate that time. So, yeah. So it has a lot to do with how much time people have and money coming towards the players, frequency of events, even like if it's just more regular LAN events, as everyone said, with prize pools for each month, and with the skill level this close, and with like prize money looking at a decent level for first, second, third, and fourth, etc., then it's worth more to these players to put the dedication in. They don't go, well, we got fourth or fifth in that tournament. I guess that wasn't really worth all the time and hopes and dreams and the crushing defeat and all that sort of stuff. So I'm just going to focus on my studies and stuff. Like that happened with was it not Bloodwater, Psycho Sid from XTG, that sort of thing. So it matters a lot, and these like people as young as most pro players at 17 aren't going to be the most experienced at dealing with that kind of emotional distress.
Stress. Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, I think for me, probably the big opportunity is still playing overseas. Like, I think really, because I mean, really, the dream is for an Oceanic team to get to Worlds. I think one opportunity there might be there is actually how the wildcards is sort of structured. I mean, we're having Japan is becoming the next servers, so presumably they might have a wildcard entry. So you could actually have a situation where Turkey and Russia play off for a spot. Latin America and Brazil play off for a spot, and Australia versus Japan play off for a spot. You have like an Asia sort of centered wildcard entry. So I mean, I think that might be one thing that maybe depending how they organise the tournaments, Worlds that could be a way in. But I think another thing would be, I mean, what would be really great is if there was events in Asia, they actually started inviting Australian teams. But something else that Riot could do would be at All Stars have like a big, Royal Rumble style, wildcard sort of server tournament. So you've got All Stars with all the top teams from all the different primary regions, but then you also have a bunch of teams coming together to give from Russia, Turkey, Oceania, Brazil, all of that, where they all play against each other. Firstly, it gives a lot of experience to teams, which is good, but also it gives exposure, because I think there's probably fans out there who don't mind seeing a bit of something a bit different. They love Korea, or they love North America or Europe, but there might be fans we could have for Oceanic, for esports.
When you said the Royal Rumble, because I've watched a lot of WWE.
Yeah.
So I've got this image of the countdown clock. It's like, let's find out who Team Immunity are going to fight after this. 10, 9, 8. The countdown hits 0. My God, it's Samsung White. They've rejoined just for one day for the tournament. I think it'd be hilarious.
I mean, I think like something where I think that sort of event could really give a lot of exposure to these teams, and might open up some doors. So I mean, that's something that Riot could do. I mean, I guess really beyond what Riot's doing, and what Riot does is great and is essential, but I think there also has to be a grassroots level, which is great in ACL and CGPL and Oceanic Gaming and all those guys. Like, what they do is fantastic, but also in terms of an international thing, it'd be great for OC teams to get involved in more grassroots orientated stuff overseas. Cool.
I feel bad having a Riot Please section with Ralph not on the show.
Yeah.
Does that feel dirty? You know, it's like when you guys talked about Runan's Hurricane while I was away on holiday. How
Yeah.
could you do that to me?
I mentioned that you would be.
You did. I was like,
credit where
oh,
credit's
that's thinking
due.
of me. And meanwhile, I find out I'm in a Speedo during that episode. So
Yeah,
thanks
that's
for
it. All right, well let's wrap this up. We've been talking for quite a while. Any last comments anybody wants to make about the Oceanic Final? About any aspect?
Whatever
well,
happens from here, it's amazing.
Yep.
Oof.
Casters are amazing.
Yeah, they really were. I was actually kind of surprised to see that Atlas and Sporting didn't actually cast the final itself. I would have thought, given how much work they've put in, and they seem to be the new guys. I mean, theoretically, Pastry is going to North America at some stage. I would have thought they'd give them that opportunity, but they didn't. Which is...
Well, they got to cast one of the semis, the semifinal games.
Yeah.
And but I think it was important for Riot Oceanic office specifically to have someone as notable as Freak at the desk doing the commentary, so that more international viewers would actually tune in to go, what's all this OCE about? You know, if they tune in and they go, I can't really understand through the Australian accents or something like that. And I've heard that as an objection. I'm not even making that up. But you know, what was like, oh, Freak's casting on this channel, let's check it out, you know. So I think it might have been a little bit for Freak's reputation as a caster. And that's nothing against Spawn and Atlas and Pastry Time.
Nope.
I love those guys and I love everything they do, as well as all everyone Team Down TV, etc. Everyone's does a great job, and I don't want to take away anything from that. It's just Freak has been. He's an icon within Riot Games, not just Riot Games Oceania.
I think it's along the point that Freak has sat on the Worlds twice now, representing the because when they sit on the analyst desk at Worlds, there is generally a caster from each region that represents each region and discusses, what's on the table. Freak has done that the last 2 times for China. That's sort of his specializing region that he does research on. So bringing him out here as a guy that's done that sort of stuff kind of validates everyone from the teams, the managers, to all the support staff within all the organizations, all the Riot support staff, everything everyone's done. It's validated that we are now here as a region. We're on the table. Freak is recognized. That's a big fart. Just having him come down. Did I just say fart instead of fart?
No. I'm just thinking the OCE was at 6 degrees of Freak. Is what I was thinking of. The closer you are to the Freak, the more validity you have as a scene.
I just want to point out something Domo said. Throughout the entire casting, Freak wasn't afraid to just. It's not really BM, but he wasn't afraid to point out where people were underperforming. He didn't beat around the bush. He's like,
oh yeah,
well, this person is definitely not performing to what they should be. It's just sad that I don't get to see them play 100%, you know? He was there making sure that he caught everything and gave his full opinion on it and what he thought could have been done better.
Absolutely, and he's like a maths genius when it comes to League of Legends. He's crunched the numbers on pretty much everything, and he was very critical of a particular Rumble build. Was it Avant-Garde's Rumble build?
No, it was Tallywhackers where he rushed Zonya's, I believe.
Yeah.
No, not Zonya's,
Rylai's Crystal Scepter. It was a Rylai's Crystal Scepter, and he was very critical of that, and I'm like, yeah, I agree. So,
but I think some of that's going to be attributed to the fact that he is way more experienced than anybody who's worked in the Oceanic scene, which is not anybody in the Oceanic scene's fault. It's just the reality of it when you do it as a full-time job, and when you've had to. He's Freak's casted at every Worlds. He's been at every Worlds. If you go watch Season 1 Worlds, he is casting. So, his level of understanding is so much beyond that of anybody else, which is great to have him here. I gotta say though, he's no Papa Smithy. When I hear Pastry Time casting, I kind of miss Papa Smithy. So those guys love them so much.
Yeah. We should get Papa Smithy on the Christmas show this episode.
We should. Absolutely. If he's still.
When is do we have a Christmas episode planned?
We'll have a Christmas. We will have one. We will have one.
Yeah, because normally it's we're going on break for a little while, so now we'll have the Christmas break.
We'll try and find some international manager as well again. Just some random.
Damn it, guys! He's gonna have to pay me for this. No, I'm not. No. Okay, yeah, fine. I'll do it.
Okay.
Whatever.
All right. Any other final comments before we move on? I think we're gonna run over time today. I think that's fine, given that we've talked about the Oceanic finals. But any other final comments before we maybe talk about some patch notes? Nope.
Oh,
Okay.
actually, one. It was very
Do we have time?
just very quickly. Let's just briefly touch on this. The MVP player voting and stuff, that was fantastic. That was a really nice addition, and the fact that there was a trophy and everything for it was something we've never seen before in the Oceanic region. It was just a really
If you guys
nice
want to
addition.
see, if you guys want to see the trophy, I was like front row and center, right in front of the trophy. So I got a few pictures. They're all on my Twitter. So, yeah, jump on there and check it out. I got a very good view of that. They had a confetti machine that blew out when the winners were announced. That was awesome. Yeah, Carrot, do we have time to talk about 4.19? Are we gonna?
Yeah, let's just go over time.
Do it!
Everybody's got the time.
Yes.
All right, so 4.19 it should be going live tomorrow morning at some ungodly hour. I don't think we're initially going to have the open beta, but the big thing is Summoner's Rift Update is actually moving into open beta after this patch has landed, so presumably the next week or two we'll find out. But the champion changes, we've got Singed changes, we've got Scion changes, Fiddle, we got a bug fix, Janna's got a decent change, Lucian's had a big change, and Rise, and who else? And Zillion. So let's go to let's go from the top. So let's go Singed. So his fling now, if you throw him into his mega adhesive zone, actually snares them for a second. And then his Insanity Potion is got a big buff on its level 3. It's gone basically got a 15 increase to ability power, armor, magic resist, move speed, blah blah blah. So it's basically a lot better in its final rank. Thoughts on Singed?
I love it.
Love it, absolutely. I've been wanting Singe to come back in a big way, and not just from Looper. Like I want him to be like one of the top picks and bans because he's such a fun champion to watch. Just kind of mess with people the way that the game is played just by picking him. And I think this buff is crazy good. Like, because 80 ability power compared to 65 ability power. Like, when we're comparing items, like, we're looking at gold efficiency and everything, now that's just for free. 80 armor, 80 magic resist. Is that 80 move speed?
Yes, that's 80
crazy.
moves speed. That's crazy. Think of the
Yeah.
percentage buffs on that.
Yeah, that's mad. That's mad.
Oh,
Health
is
and
it insane? Possibly
Yes.
a potion of insanity,
Yeah,
maybe.
that's right.
Nice.
Someone must have been drinking something strange
Yeah.
to come up with that. No, I love it. And I really love the mega adhesive idea. Like, like if you run across it, it's nice and sticky. But if you get flung really like hard into it, then it's like, it makes this, oh my god, I'm stuck. So I like that.
Well,
I just
it
like
also-
that theme. I just like that theme.
I mean, the other thing about that is it's really going to beef up the power of his poison then, because they're going to be spending a second in the adhesive, plus then they've still got to walk outside of it, which, I mean, at full max rank, the slow is 75%. So essentially you're taking a lot of damage at max rank of his
And he
mega
will
adhesive.
literally run circles around you.
Yes, he will.
Please, no proxy singe. God
No, I'm
help
hoping
us.
it's proxy singed. I so want the proxy singed idea is such an amazing strategy tool to be able to implement just from out of nowhere. Like if you haven't got it, yeah.
If you want to see proxy, Olaf level 1 can proxy 3 waves in the base in your opposition's
I
base.
actually saw it the other day. That was
Yeah.
really dumb.
You can
Happened
do it on
solid.
Olaf, and all you need is a Doran's Blade.
They're gonna
Yeah.
nerf the hell out of that.
Look,
That's so
at
gonna
the end
get
of the
nerfed.
day, proxy singe is still gay because he has all this sustain when he pops his R. It's just a pain to
Yeah.
deal with. Like, if you're jungling, this guy is already in between two towers, just farming a wave. Gotta go there, getting counter jungled, gotta gank this lane. Never mind, Singe is in base, just running around doing something. And like,
Like I think the running around in base is a bit excessive, and like they'll probably deal.
I'm
But-
guilty. Like, I did it in gold, and
You
it's
should feel bad.
I do feel bad. I died 10 times, but I came back with 400 CS and just pure
Yeah.
tank and ran through a team fight.
Yeah, so
Like-
they fixed that. They fixed like you grant a lot more gold and stuff even if you've died a lot of times and all experience.
Anyways, all right,
Yeah.
we've touched on Sin.
I just want to say that I've got some. There's a young guy that I know. He's a mate's son, and he's like 13, only just started playing, and I use proxy singed against him all the time for the lol. So there you go. If you want to abuse the hell out of a newbie who's learning to play proxy singed just because they have no idea how to deal with it.
Can I
That
report
is
you
so
right
mean.
right
You're
now?
like, yeah, I'll teach you how to
Okay.
play this fun game.
Yeah.
You can't touch me.
All right, let's move on to Sion. So Sion, he's Shots. Did you want to make a mention? Did you want to say anything about that? Sorry, Shots.
Well, I just thought like the fling changes is just really interesting. That's
Yep.
more to the champion. That's about it. Everyone else covered it.
All right, so Sion changes. His base health per level goes from 70 to 73, which is particularly huge. Probably the biggest change is that his passive now, he loses health at a slower rate. Well, basically a slower rate at higher levels. So rather than being off max health, it's actually based on champion level, which basically means if you build tank, he's going to last a lot longer in his passive when he dies, in his death in glory and death, whatever it's called. The mana cost on his Q has gone down. The mana cost on his W has gone down, and the mana cost on his E has gone up. So, thoughts?
He's still going to be useless.
I wasn't too convinced. Like the remake didn't really convince me too much. Like, he does need some more adjustments, and I think this is like in the right direction. Though I'm not sure. Like, I'm not convinced that.
Well, I've seen very, very little of him. Basically, I've had my esports, on 100% of the time. I haven't even jumped into a game since I got home, and I've only been home for a day enough. So, I've only seen a couple of things on. I saw a little bit on Battle Arena, and that's about it. So, changes to that kit that I didn't fully understand, I can't really comment on.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's little stuff. I mean, I guess he might be one of those champs, a bit like Garen. I mean, there's a few champs that they're not really great at a professional level, or even probably a high elo level. But for people who are just mucking around, like they're fun. I like Garen. Garen is a fun champion to play. You'd never see him. Well, you probably might see him occasionally in a competitive game, but not really. But he's just fun. If you're just playing him mucking around in normals, he's got some fun
Garen
there.
is to me what Teemo is to you.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. I don't care. Garen's awesome. Teemo sucks.
Scout ahead.
So, Jana, Jana, she's been the real standout champion of Worlds. She's had a slight nerf. Her W, which is the slow.
Did you just say she's only been a standout at Worlds? Have you not been watching Nada?
Well,
Nada
sorry.
picked it.
No,
particular,
but like,
yeah.
what he's trying
How
to
much
say...
have you been watching of Nada?
Since Worlds. Really,
Yeah.
prior to Worlds, you didn't really see a whole lot of it. Then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, Jana's everywhere.
Yeah, the Koreans brought her back into favor by just playing her in solo queue, and then they just brought it out in Worlds. It just proved how big her ulti, her shield, her slow, her knock-up was, how well it can fit into these team comps.
Mm-hmm. Especially with the changes to Zed.
Sorry, yeah, keep going, Steve. Sorry.
No, you go.
Okay, she, as one champion on the map, was forcing Morellonomicons to come out. Even if you want, the only other champion capable of doing that is Mondo. And generally, it's because you're sticking a Lulu against him in top lane. You're directly countering him with the opposition champion in the lane. But you're forcing this. You're seeing a lot of Xerath building the Morellonomicon, a little bit of Orianna Morellonomicon, just a bunch of people building it because of a support. Where it's not a direct counter.
What is Shots laughing at?
Oh god.
Is he reading the Twitch chat? You shouldn't do that, Shots. But yeah, I think this is Jana is currently considered strong in the metagame. She's never really been weak, but she's never really been overwhelming until the Worlds really brought her back from Korea, as I was saying before. And this change really doesn't stop her doing the things that she did before. But it's what are you guys laughing at?
Okay, had a woman hit on me at the event, had to explain I wasn't right, Benji from Modbro.
Dude, don't explain a thing. Yeah, because like, right, Benji had so much time to be out there mingling.
Wrap up.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
All right. Okay,
Karen,
okay.
gain control of this
Yeah.
chaos.
Okay, let's move on. Lucian. So this is actually a relatively substantial change. So Lucian has had the attack rate, the damage ratio, and his W, his Ardent Blaze, taken away. But the move speed now increases at higher levels, or from 40 to 60. And the culling. This is probably the biggest change. The cooldown on his culling has been nerfed substantially, especially at max rank. So it's now 100, instead of 175.50, it's now 110 190 seconds. So does this push Lucian out of the really competitive, the top tier?
It's a lot of meta
pick?
culling. They've definitely culled the culling there. Like like one of the strong, like, you take Lucian for several reasons. His laning dominance is one of them, of course, but the wave clear from the culling has been part of one of the reasons that you would put him into a particular team comp to make up for that sort of deficit. Because basically the only other AD carry that has that option is Corki. So if you're taking a mid laner and a top laner that don't have much in the way of wave clear, those were basically your two options. With the increase of 40 seconds at max rank, or even 10 seconds at the early rank, that's gonna be a big deal. Like, it's either gonna force him to build a lot more cooldown reduction, like force him down cooldown reduction preferred paths rather than just rushing IAE every time, or it's going to make him a lot less viable for that reason specifically. All the other reasons that you'd pick Lucian, he's still going to get picked.
Anybody else want to comment on whether Lucian's viable or not?
He's still going to be viable in the bot lane. Like, a small, like, ulti extension is not really going to hurt him. The main
40
reason...
seconds, it's not small.
But you got to remember, people still build cooldown reduction on him with the lucidity boots, Ghost Blade. So either way you look at it, Lucian's basically used for his Q, his E, the damage nerf on W, yeah, but you're not really using it for damage. You're just using it to proc his passive. Like, you can end up getting, I think it's 6 shots with his Q, W, and E all combined. So that's the main reason why you would, like, use Lucian, so you can harass, like, other ADCs out of lane with little to no effort. Just Q through a minion wave, double hit them, walk back, E them, go up, double hit, Q, double hit, and by that time they're almost dead.
I mean, and it doesn't change the damage, which is not, certainly at the later stages, it's actually quite substantial. So, once he gets his Ghost Blade, he does a fair bit of damage with it, and that's not affected at all. So, I guess in that regard, it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, so we got a Q change on Rise. It's been reduced across the board, which is, it's 20 damage at rank 1 and 40 damage at rank 5. So, I mean, it doesn't really change his scaling though. Like, if he's still, for a while there on the PB, they actually took away the mana scaling on some of his abilities, which I think would be a much bigger impact. This one, it's obviously going to hurt his early game, but I don't think it's going to really change the completely team destroying nature late game.
Well, the one thing that it will do is that if the nerf is devastating enough, like the numbers from 60 to 40 at rank 1 seems pretty big, like percentage wise, at level 1. As long as, like, if that's that big a deal, like if you're picking him for his early game against other laners, then that's not really what people want Rise being picked for. The one thing it will do is it might move him out of the top priority slot. He'll still be good, or he'll still be amazing, to be frank. Like, his build paths are just perfect, and he fits right in at the moment. But people have been first picking him. Like, if he's open, they've been first picking him for a couple of weeks, maybe even a couple of months now. Not always, but he's definitely been considered a very high priority for the top lane, which is not where you really expect to see casters. You don't see like any other casters up there with any kind of regularity. So I think it's just gonna, if they're gonna pick Rise, it's not gonna be first pick. That's if this change is big enough.
Anybody else want to comment on Rise?
More needs to be
That is
done
right.
to him.
Yeah, that's true.
Hmm.
Like,
What do you reckon? Like, do you reckon the mana scaling has to go? Or
the mana scaling's good. It's just I think they need to rework his passive a bit because the more you use spells, the more like the cooldown's reduced. So I think at like level 16, his ult is on maybe a 40 or 35-second cooldown, and if you're spamming abilities, you can have it up within 3-4 seconds.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
And it's just not fair. Like you build the Roa, you build the Seraph's Embrace, and then you can just go pure tanky. Like you just need those two items, and then you've got a full tank champion that does AOE damage. I think one of them's percentage based. He's E. He has a snare, and he has one of the best Qs in the game. It's kind of like unfair.
It's gonna hurt his lane, but he's still just gonna be that late game beast. Like,
Yeah.
So
sorry, go.
yeah, just they need to sit down and look at that. Like it was obvious in Worlds, like he was either banned or picked straight away. Like it just goes to show how highly contested he is in those stages.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Yeah, that's probably a fair point. I mean, it's hard to think of what they could go for with his passive, but I guess, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of what else. Because I mean, he kind of relies a lot on the low cooldown. So it's one of these things like he's kind of dependent on this really ridiculous passive, but it makes him too overpowered. So it's a bit of a tough one. Maybe they have to look at all of his cooldowns.
Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say that Ryze is overpowered. It's just the way that the meta's playing out at the moment, he's just a really brilliant pick for it. And there's really not much of an answer to it. Like, if you first pick Ryze in the teleport meta, he just fits. Like, he does well. Yeah.
I mean, when they reduced his range, he dropped out a fair bit from what I remember.
Yeah, and when they changed Banshee's Veil so that didn't build out of a catalyst anymore. Like, he dropped out a little bit there, but he always seems to make a reappearance once people go, oh yeah, movement speed and a snare is amazing. You know?
Yeah. All right, and probably the last other change, if nobody else has anything to say about Rise, is Zilean. So he loses his global passive. It's now just within 1500 range, which kind of, it's almost worthless. Well, maybe it's not almost worthless, but really the point, I would imagine the point at which it'd be most impactful is in the early game, because it allows you in your lanes to get a big, get a jump on your opponents when you're sort of both at equal levels of experience. You get to level 6 first, you get to level 3 first. If you don't have that, what's the point?
Yeah.
Like,
well, there was a time, I think it was a game in Korea, where they were double jungling with a Zilean on their team so that they got the level advantage for a 4-0 split push. And it was incredibly crucial for Zilean to be the pick for that strategy to work the way it did, because otherwise one of the people in the jungle wouldn't be level 2 or 3. I can't remember which. It was a while ago now. But and a lot of people were picking Zilean for all of the reasons that you'd normally pick Zilean, but also so that your bottom lane would hit that level 2 first. And like anyone who's paid attention to bot lane knows that how important that level 2, the first person to level 2 is. Like, a lot of strategies are based around it. So
like interesting fact, Spooks from the Chiefs back in Gold Coast Supernova, he was running one experience Quint in all of his jungle pages when Rosie was playing Zilean support.
Nice.
And none of us could figure out why they were picking Zileans, and we finally figured it out because the passive was global. Spooks is managing to get to level 3 off the just 2 buffs and then able to gank straight away, which
so clever.
caused him to have like a huge lead in these jungle trades. So it's just the strategies.
The cool part for me is you can still do the 2-person jungle cheese. You can 4-buff the enemy jungler. And I was actually trying to convince the AV squad. Sorry, shots. I was trying to convince the AV squad on the Thursday. We went to MC they went to MC to do some warm-ups and whatnot and some practice. And on the way there, I was trying to convince Nada and Yuzora to do it in one of the games over the weekend. Shots hates me. Yeah, so the entire strategy revolves around Zillion taking the speed boost, Nunu taking obviously Consume Smite, runs in, just takes the buff camp, hits level 2 off that, sprint across the map to the other buff camp, take that one, then go back to your own.
Someone's hopped up on Nunu Dust.
Yeah,
We love
okay.
that champion.
That sounds like something we need to do in novels just for the lulz with
Oh,
with
it's
the OzLoL guys.
hilarious.
We're
I
talking about
have
rank 5s, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, really, Zillion's kit's kind of rubbish anyway. Like, it's just, yeah, it's just no fun to play against. It's not a whole lot of fun to play as. Eventually, they'll rework him, and this is just one last little like kick in the teeth before they fix him up. So hopefully I mean, he's got a great new splash, awesome new splash, but otherwise it's not a great kit. So, all right, was there anything else anybody wanted to bring up before we wrap things up?
No, I
Nope.
think we're good.
My fiance is incredibly excited for Reaper Soraka.
Oh yes, I am too. Oh, so good, so good getting badass support skins. I love it. I love it.
I do think Reaper Soraka is by far the best Karthus skin out there.
Nice. And actually, Singe gets a new model, so that's pretty cool as well. Cool. All right. Well, that's the patch notes. We'll just do some shout-outs and then we'll finish things up. So, I want to give a quick shout-out first to Tribal Mind and Victor as part of the Gakko Picks production podcast. So, Tribal's got a champion sort of wrap-up, I guess, is what you call it. But basically talks about champions with people, and Victor does what Victor does, which is be Victor. So I want to give a shout out to those guys. Make sure you check them out. It's Gakko Picks Productions. If you want to check them out on iTunes, and also Armagon, one of the fans of the show, is actually given some ward skins and some champ skins, which I think I've put out one. I'm going to put out another before I forget. There's a ward skin.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to those
just
guys.
on the Victor shout out, happy birthday to Victor. It was his birthday yesterday on
Yes,
the 4th,
it was. I was
Yeah.
trying to remember that one. Damn it! Damn it!
I even wrote it down, man. It's in the notes.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to remember that one, but it was in your notes, and I could barely
Yeah.
read them at
Yeah,
times.
because it's like bright green. I know. I get a shout out for Hetheria, who was the gentleman who gifted me this lovely Timo hat that I am.
Which means I've now got a Timo hat in my house that I don't want, and so I
That's
don't have the
right.
money used for it.
That's all right. I know about 50 people who want one. But I want to give a shout out to Riot Toxic Hawk and Riot Crucius. Specifically those two from the Riot team for completely wrecking my voice on day one. So they got the crowds. League of Legends! Oh my
Draven.
god.
You're saying it,
Draven.
it's Draven.
No.
Everyone says
Day one, it was Legends. That was when my voice was completely stuffed. Day 2 and day 3, they stuck with Draven, and I was just like, Draven! I was completely gone. But Riot Toxic Hawk, Riot Crucius, man, they got that crowd fired up. Whenever anyone who watched the stream of the games, it'd always go, all right, we'll be right back after, for game 3 of blah blah blah, and then it'd go to a break. Riot Crucius would come out and he'd just get the crowd, like he'd keep the crowd pumped up instead of all of us just staring at a clock for 45 seconds, and he did a really good job. And every single Rioter behind the scenes, just like this event and EB Expo that I saw live, the events were just fantastically run, perfectly organized. Benji ran the esports stuff like just perfectly, and yeah. And a special shout out to Cerise and Azrael, who let me crash at their place in Melbourne for PAX. So thank you very much. That's all my shout outs.
All right.
All right,
Scott.
that's now on to me. I got the extreme pleasure of hanging out with Nada and Veritas. I was walking them around.
Sorry, I just read the notes. Keep talking.
I got the extreme pleasure of hanging out with them. Nada is just, I mean, if you've heard the Sounds of the Game videos, Nada's always the one that's making jokes in the AV lineup. Whenever they're having fun, whenever they're really enjoying the games, you can always hear Nada. Oh, bye, Shelby. I'll miss you. That was him. That's Nada. Nada and Veritas were just so amazing, and they definitely just affirmed why I stick my passion behind a game and a career. Potential career. Obviously, it's not a career for anyone in it quite yet, but just reaffirmed it for me. And I think probably the best rider for me from the weekend was the fairy Cosmother, Riot Akana. She was running around with her cosplay repair kit all weekend. I'm not
Yeah,
quite
she's
yet.
a superhero.
She
She's
is.
amazing, Raya
Oh,
Kakana.
she's amazing. My
I've
fiance
actually given
was
a shout out to her a few months ago, but I didn't know her Riot handle at the time, so no, she's gotten props before.
yeah, absolutely. My fiance was actually doing Officer Vi at Gold Coast Supernova, and it would have been fantastic to have her with the cosplay repair kit there. But it's something they've integrated now, so I'm fairly keen for it. And I'm going to become a cosplayer in the near future, so I'm probably going to be finding the glue
Yes.
gun and
One of us. One of us.
and yeah, so if you ever need a hand in your cosplaying out there, Riot Akana, the fairy Cosmo at the Riot booth. Also, I
And
believe
also-
you broke a cosplay record at the PAX Australia for 141 cosplayers. I think
Yeah.
it was at one day of the event.
Yeah, I think we got 9 Annies and 7 Aries on that one day. It was like
Two
I
of
think
the
we had
male.
everything. Yeah, that's right. That's right. But Riot Akana played a mean Rammus. I'm not sure if you saw that community game that she had a team, but she set up so many plays. It was brilliant.
Cool. Shots or Voku, do you guys have any shout outs for anybody?
Shots can go first.
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you to all the event sponsors. That's Corsair Gaming, Plantronics, Sculptech, DX Racer, Gaze Apparel, Netgear, and Esportsify. Shout out to my team, Porky, Shelby, Kenzie, Nada, Veritas. Thank you for Fasty for all the hard work on the weekend, and she's been great. Like, I've never met someone so hardworking before in my life. And I think my last shout out goes to Savory, our coach. Without him, he's the reason why we won. Straight up. Savory, our coach, was the reason why we won Oceanic Finals.
Cool.
My shout outs probably going to my lovely girlfriend who's been keeping me in this esports scene. Keeps telling me.
I thought you were going to say keeping you in this Pikachu onesie.
No. She keeps telling me that I can do anything. I should find a new team to manage, but I have other things in store. That's to be determined.
Ooh.
Shout out
Ooh.
to
Shadowing.
shout out to Uber, manager for Legacy. He was absolutely amazing to hang out with at PAX, the drunken karaoke on the final night. Oh, that was
See, that's what I'm bummed I missed out on. Drunken karaoke would have been amazing.
that was fun. Definitely got to give a shout out to one of my best friends, Rusty. He's always been there, helped me out through the good and the bad.
Rusty's a
And-
champ.
Yeah, he's just an amazing guy. Wouldn't know what I would do without him. And my last shout out goes to Steph, the Jelly Belly, and Sam. Not many people know Sam. He's a CSGO player, but he's slowly teaching me that other esports scenes are interesting as well.
Cool. All right. Well, with that, that brings us to the end of episode 61. I just want to say thanks to both Shots and to Voku for joining us. It was really good having you guys on. So, and anytime you want to come back on, we'd love to have you.
Pleasure to be on.
Thanks, guys.
No problem.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And I guess that brings us to the end of episode 61. We'll be back again next week. And don't forget Battle Arena on tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. And yeah, back again for episode 62.
It's been a
There
while.
was one more thing.
Oh,
Hang
go
on.
on,
There was one more thing. Can Voku say a big shout out to his free play competition team? What was their name again, Voku?
The Washed Up Pros.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I believe we won that. Thank
Did-
you very much.
Did you have Hot Shot? Did you have Hot Shot and I'm a Cutie Pie and all those guys? 'Cause-
No, but I did get BM'd the
Oh.
entire game.
Aw.
oh,
As he deserved. Yeah.
I
it was
really
great.
feel that
Listen to the
Pikachu should
cast
have a
is
sad
so-
face right now.
cool. All right. Well, that's episode 61. Thanks again for joining us. We'll be back again next week.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.